guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today, as you can see from the title, we are continuing with the series on PCOS. Today's video is all about the symptoms, what the common symptoms are, what the symptoms that they don't really tell you about, the less known symptoms, and the ones that you wouldn't think are necessarily related to PCOS in general. So with that being said, let's get into the video. So over the last two videos, we've discussed what PCOS is, how it's diagnosed, what the most common symptoms are, how it affects me personally, and the symptoms I find the hardest to deal with. And in this one, we're going to discuss just the general symptoms all over. Now, these will affect different people with PCOS to different varying lengths and degrees. Some will not be affected, some will be affected more than others. Each case of PCOS and its symptoms to the individual are truly individual. Yes, there is some commonalities, of course there is. However, each person will experience the symptoms slightly different to the next. So, what are the main symptoms? As we've already discussed, they are weight gain, acne, irregular periods, cysts or follicles on the ovaries, insulin resistance. They're the most common ones and the ones that are usually found on most medical sites that tell you that what the symptoms are, what to look out for. The complications of PCOS are, of course, type 2 diabetes and cervical cancer due to not being ovulating and not having periods for long periods of time increases your risk of cancer, and also high cholesterol and high blood pressure. Some of the lesser known symptoms are skin tags, pelvic pain, fatigue, sugar cravings, IBS, what we call brain fog, where you're confused or you're fuzzy-headed, and poor memory, headaches, increased risk of miscarriage, high levels of the male sex hormone, which can also lead to extreme high levels of sex drive, or on the opposite side, low sex drive. Bloating, ingrown hairs due to having to shave more regular, thinning hair on the head, facial hair, excessive body hair, and tubular breasts. So, the list, as you can see, is long. So, let's go through them one by one. Firstly, weight gain. That's the most common one that most people with PCOS do suffer from. It's uncontrolled weight gain, so it doesn't matter how healthy you eat or how hard you exercise, the weight gain is still excessive. The most common thing that people will say is, well, if you just exercise more and eat less rubbish, you'd lose weight. It unfortunately doesn't work that way because it is a hormonal imbalance. So your hormones affect your weight, and therefore it is uncontrollable weight gain. The next one, acne. This is one I suffer with myself, besides the obvious weight gain. I do get spots across my face. I get them across the chest area here. I get them on my back, both upper and lower. And I do get them on the tops of my shoulders. At the moment, my skin is what I would call clear. It's not. I still do have spots on my face and a couple on my neck, but for me this is relatively clear. Thinning hair. I will insert a picture here of what the back of my head looks like. You've probably noticed it in some of my earlier videos, especially with my coloured hair. When I lean forward, you can see that my hair is quite thin on the back. That is a reason that my hair is currently blonde, because it makes my hair look thicker in this colour. When I dye it coloured, which I love, or I leave it in my natural colour, it looks even thinner. So for the time being, until I can find a wig that I want to wear permanently that's all wild and colourful, I'll have to keep my hair blonde just to help with my own body image looks and the way I feel. Facial hair. As I mentioned in my previous video, this is one of the ones I struggle with the most, is the facial hair. I have to shave almost daily. My face. Otherwise, I've got the equivalent of a 5 o'clock shadow. I again will insert a picture. I left the hair to grow for 2 days, and that was the result. Obviously we're in quarantine, so I'm not going out anywhere, so it didn't really make much difference for me to leave it to grow out. However, it makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel undesirable, so I do still shave every day. I left it to grow so I could show you guys what it's actually like if I was to leave it grow. Now, the hair that's on my face has also been subject to electrolysis, plucking, threading, and laser treatment. And that is still the result after all of that. Skin tags. For me, I only really have one on my hip that continues to come back after it's been removed. I've had it surgically removed twice, and it continues to come back and cause me problems. So, but that I've been lucky in that respect that I do only have the one. Irregular periods. I track my periods, I have done for years, on an app. However, mine can go anywhere between regular month to month to 2 years without a period. So, and the longer you go, the more painful it becomes. Because if you can imagine, you've got 2 years worth of lining and unshed blood, it gets painful. Which brings me nicely onto pelvic pain. Now, pelvic pain isn't just, I would say, the way that if you don't ovulate, you don't have a period, you end up with all the junk still up there and it causes pain. The other causes of pelvic pain will be the cysts, follicles, however which way you want to call them, forming. They can also increase and decrease throughout your cycle. So like, the way I normally explain it to anybody that's not got PCOS is, imagine you're blowing up a balloon. So it blows up, it blows up, it blows up, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's in a smaller and smaller hole, so it gets tighter and tighter, so it gets more and more painful. And then it slowly releases the pressure that's in the balloon, so it deflates. So the pressure then eases from the ovary. That's how it feels to me when I have a cyst flare up. It's like an increased pressure permanently in, usually for myself, my right ovary. I have had a burst twice. The first one I was already in hospital due to the pain I was in anyway, so I was treated, and then the second one I had at home. I knew what it was, so I just went to the doctors and they treated me accordingly. But they are extremely painful when a cyst erupts and can be dangerous. Don't ovulate. So with normal ovulation, you produce an egg, the egg is released, you ovulate, it either attaches to your womb line if it's fertilised or it doesn't, and it's expelled accordingly. With PCOS, the egg gets stuck, so it doesn't release. So then the follicle hardens around it, and that is what then causes the non-ovulation, because you've not followed the full cycle. You've not released the egg, it's not travelled, it's not fertilised, it's not fertilised. You don't then follow the normal menstrual cycle because it's stopped. Insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is a resistance to the insulin that the body naturally produces to help control blood sugars. With somebody that's PCOS and has insulin resistance, their body naturally resists the insulin that it produces, so it's not as effective, which is why it can lead to type 2 diabetes, because with diabetes your insulin is not working to the correct parameters that your body needs. So somebody who is insulin resistance is more than likely, if they cannot get that under control, to develop type 2 diabetes. Fatigue. You become extremely tired. Even if you've had a full 12-hour sleep, you can wake up absolutely exhausted, like you've not slept a single hour. Alongside that then goes the insomnia. You can go days without proper sleep, sometimes weeks and months. I personally have suffered with insomnia quite often since I was about 15. It got particularly bad for me at 18, and I was medicated for a short period of time with sleeping tablets. They stopped being effective because your body relies on them. I tried other treatments, both legal and illegal. Obviously, smoking weed in the UK is illegal, unlike obviously parts of the States where some of you may be watching me from. I have tried meditation, you name it, I've tried it. It's just one of them things. Sometimes I'll sleep properly, sometimes I won't. Sometimes it can be years between a bout of insomnia, sometimes it's a matter of days. I'll think I'm back to a normal sleeping pattern, boom, I'm back to not sleeping again. As a result of that, I have perpetually black under eyes because I don't sleep properly. Alongside the insomnia, you can also suffer from sleep apnea. That is because of the excessive body weight. You don't sleep properly because you can't breathe properly because you're so overweight. Thankfully, I've not experienced that. So I don't know much about that side of things, other than that's why people suffer with sleep apnea that have got PCOS. It's due to the excessive body weight. The next one is mental health. Now, there's a few things around the mental health that I'd like to go over. Firstly, depression is a big one. As I mentioned in my previous video, I have suffered quite badly with depression and anxiety. A lot of that also comes down to the fact that you are left feeling unheard, misunderstood. People don't necessarily believe you when you tell them what's going on. doctors are not as educated as you would like to believe on PCOS. There are some doctors out there that don't even believe it's a condition. And that is a fight to then get diagnosed and get help to be treated when the person you think should be helping you isn't. The other thing is to do with your own body image. So you're left feeling like less of a person or less of a woman, or different people see it differently. For me, because I can grow a beard and a tash, and I suffer with weight gain and I don't ovulate, I was left feeling like less of a woman. And I've mentioned this before. And then feelings niggle in the back of your head, and your depression gets worse, and your anxiety gets worse, and your image of yourself gets worse. And it's a never-ending vicious circle. It helps that I've got a very supportive partner. He's been with me for a long, long time, as I've mentioned before. I have a family that understand to varying degrees of the level of complexity that is PCOS. I have a good group of friends that just take me for who I am. So if that means I don't want to interact, they won't push it too far. They know when I need to speak to them. They know when I'm having a bad day. So I'm surrounded by a good group. But it's taken me a while to get there. I also now know some of my own triggers. So I try to avoid them. I also understand that some days are going to be harder than others. Some days I'm going to wake up and I'm going to feel like the worst thing in the world. And I say thing lightly because obviously I'm a person, I know that. But that's just the way your mind works. And then other days I'll wake up and I'll feel absolutely fantastic. I'm on top of the world. I'll go slap on some makeup, I'll make myself look all pretty, and I'll go out and then I'll have a great day. But some days I just don't want to get showered. I don't want to get out of bed. I hate my life, I hate my world, I hate everything. But that's my depression talking. With the anxiety, it's more, for me personally anyway, the way I think people are perceiving me. So if I haven't shaved my face and I leave this house, I think everybody is looking at me. Because I know it's there. They might not be able to see it, but I know it's there. So then it plays on my mind that people can see it and everybody's staring at me, everybody's looking at me and everybody's judging me and that sort of thing. I briefly touched on this one already, so the excessive body hair, which is always unwanted. I mean, who wants to have a hairy chest or a hairy back? I mean, as a woman, that's not something we kind of imagine having. For me, I get patches on my back. I have a hairy stomach. I don't really have much in the chest area, thankfully. I do have the odd hair, which I just pluck, and I'm done with it. My husband shaves my back for me. I will insert a picture of my back. Again, I only left it for a couple of days, so you can get an idea of what it's like. You'll also be able to see the acne on my back in the pictures that I've just inserted. So that's the thing. Another one that not many people associate with PCOS or even know is part of PCOS is IBS. So irritable bowel syndrome. Because it's a hormonal imbalance, it messes up a whole lot of things inside you that you don't even realise it's messing up. So that's including your digestive tract because you crave sugar. your body doesn't like insulin. It's insulin resistance. So you crave sugar, you put sugar in, your insulin is created, it don't work. Your sugar levels shoot up. That can then lead to glucose in your waterworks, which then can lead to thrush. IBS because you're trying to eat a more healthy, balanced diet because you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to maintain some sort of control over your weight. You're eating all different types of foods, you upset your stomach, etc., etc. Headaches, migraines, that sort of thing is in part due to the sugar and obviously the hormones that are imbalanced in your body. So for me, I get headaches and migraines quite often. I do struggle in the summer with the sun. That's particularly harsh for me in the form of migraines. If I'm on a computer for an excessive period of time, I can also get a really bad headache or even possibly a migraine. I am on medication for them though. As a result of the weight, other people with PCOS also suffer from eating disorders, or at least an unhealthy attachment to food. So be that either the common ones, anorexia, bulimic, etc. You've also got things like people only eat a certain type of food, a certain colour of food. People are told that this is good for you, so that's all they'll eat. Dietitians, when it comes to PCOS, one will tell you one thing, one will tell you another. Carbs and sugars, bad. Well, long and short of it. Certain types of fruits, if you eat an excessive because of the natural sugars, is bad. If you are insulin resistant, it will not help with the weight gain. But it all depends on your make-up of your symptoms, your body type, your metabolism. There's a whole host of other things that go into it rather than just this is good food, this is bad food. And as a result, people do develop obsessions. I mean, myself personally, I have tried pretty much every diet under the book. I have tried slimming classes, I have tried shakes, meal replacements, the cabbage diet, starving myself for 4 days, intermittent. I have tried everything. And the only thing I have found that works for me currently is a balanced diet in which I eat everything within moderation with exercise and medication. I am on an injectable based medication to help regulate my sugars because they just kept climbing no matter what I was doing. And because it regulates my sugars, it then boosts my metabolism, which can help with weight loss. But alongside that, I still can't eat an unbalanced diet and hope that just an injection will help me lose weight, because that's not going to work. I'm just going to stay the same as I am, or I'm going to end up higher in weight. So that's working for me currently. We will see how it goes. I will document it as I go along. More than likely more on Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, the links are in the description below, so just follow me on Instagram because it's easier to post on there. I will do a full video at some point about what I eat, what I exercise, that kind of thing. If anybody's interested, if you are, please leave me a comment below and let me know. The other things that are on the list all really tend to go together. So like bloating, I mean that kind of goes with the IBS as well. So if you've got IBS, you do tend to bloat. So tubular breasts. Now this is not one I had heard of until I did the research for the video, because it's not something my consultant or my doctor has ever mentioned to me. But I did come across it with the research I was doing. It's basically where the breasts are not formed in the traditional... I don't know really how to explain it because I'm not very well clued up on it, I'll be honest. So from my understanding, it's where the breasts are saggy and droopy. They have excessively dark iola and usually puffy or elongated nipples. One breast can be quite larger than the other. But as I said, I don't know anything about that side of the condition because it's not something I've even discussed with my consultant. I'm lucky in that respect that I haven't had that symptom, but I've never heard of it before either until I did the research for the video. So I will have to clue myself up on that a bit more. But you can find it on the PCOS website. All the information I've given you today is from there. As I said, I do research everything before I will tell you about it. Also, I do live with quite a lot of these symptoms myself. Out of all the symptoms I've given you, I probably live with a good 98% of them. So, I've been there, done that, one t-shirt. So, this is a bit of a long video, and for that I am sorry guys. If you're still with us at the end, then please do subscribe. Give me a like. If not, give me a dislike. If you don't like what I'm doing, that's absolutely fine. Let me know what you would like different. Leave a comment. Also, please consider subscribing and joining the Twisted family. I do like to interact with my followers, so if you are following me, leave me in line. Let me know if you're a sufferer of PCOS. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video, guys. Thanks. Bye.